I swear on my third glass of boxed Pinot Grigio, I didn't mean to start a war. It was just a name. One name. A name I've said 100 times before with no drama, no tears, no glass-shattering meltdowns. But this time? This time it dropped like a live grenade into my brother's new wife's quinoa salad. Her mascara was halfway down her cheeks before the chicken had even cooled. And 3 days later, I'm suddenly public enemy number one. Apparently, I ruined the vibe. I guess it's easier to blame me than the emotional hand grenade of unresolved trauma disguised as a family dinner. Let me rewind. So my name's Darren, 45, oldest of three, and the only one in our family who knows how to cook a steak that isn't a charcoal brick. My brother Mitch, 43, emotionally allergic to accountability, just got remarried 3 months ago to a woman named Rachel, 30-something, Pilates instructor, the kind of woman who brings her own essential oils to restaurants and says, "Namaste," after sneezing. The wedding was small, expensive, and tense as hell. I knew from the get-go that Rachel was, let's call it sensitive, like cries during allergy commercials sensitive. But hey, Mitch seemed happy for once and she hadn't yet caused a scene that ended with broken wine glasses or burned bridges. Yet, now Mitch's first wife, Lara, yeah, the name, was a different story. They were married for almost a decade, had a golden retriever together, R.I.P. Baxter, and got divorced after Lara found texts between Mitch and some woman from his spin class. It was messy. There were lawyers, there were long voicemails, and weirdly there was a lot of kale involved. Don't ask. Anyway, all that drama was years ago, so when I showed up at our mom's place last Saturday for what was supposed to be a low-key family dinner, read, my mom guilt-trapping us into assembling IKEA furniture while feeding us frozen lasagna, I thought I was in for the usual. Some bickering, a few eye rolls, and maybe one awkward toast from Dad if he remembered to stay sober. Instead, I stepped into a powder keg wearing an apron and holding a bottle of Cabernet. Everyone was there. Mom, Marla, 68, deeply committed to passive-aggressive compliments. Dad, Gary, 71, a retired mechanic who believes emotional expression is a government plot. Mitch and Rachel, my younger sister Emily, 38, recently divorced, chronically dating men named Chad, and me. Rachel was already teary when I walked in, claiming the energy in the room felt off. Emily handed me a wine glass and whispered, "It's been off since she arrived." Dinner started normal enough. Rachel was talking about her new wellness podcast. Mitch was pretending to care, and Mom was criticizing my shirt under the guise of complimenting my rugged laundry skills. Then Mitch brought up Baxter, their old dog, and I, being the idiot I am, laughed and said, "Remember when Laura dressed him up as a taco for Halloween? That was hilarious." Silence. Like full reboot of the simulation silence. Rachel blinked. Twice. Then she got up, quietly walked to the kitchen, and I swear, she just stood there staring at the fridge like it had personally offended her. Then she came back, sat down, and whispered to Mitch, "I need to go outside." But instead of grabbing her purse or a jacket, she pulled out her phone and started typing like her thumbs were on fire. 10 minutes later, she was gone. She didn't say goodbye, just walked out barefoot like a ghost in a sundress. The rest of us sat there blinking. Mom cleared her throat and said, "Well, that was dramatic." Mitch glared at me like I'd run over her cat, muttered something about how I never know when to shut the hell up, and followed her out. The kicker? 3 days later, I get a message from Rachel. Not a text, not a call. A voice memo. 1 minute and 37 seconds of breathy rage, accusing me of being toxic, disrespectful to trauma, and emotionally manipulative by invoking his past. She ends it with, "You've made an enemy, Darren. A very determined one. A determined enemy." From one dinner mention. I should have just brought takeout and kept my mouth shut. But now? Oh, now it's personal. I thought she'd just stew in her kombucha for a few days, maybe send another passive-aggressive email laced with chakra terminology and end it there. I underestimated her. I underestimated Rachel. 3 days after the voice memo, I started getting texts from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Not, "Hey stranger," texts, number. These were the "You okay, man?" kind. The "Saw something weird about you online. Figured I'd check in" kind. That's when I found it. She'd made a TikTok. Not just any TikTok. Oh no. This was an emotional slideshow set to piano music, with stock footage of a woman staring at the ocean while sad affirmations flashed across the screen. The title? When your partner's family tries to erase your healing. I'm not named, obviously, but the hashtags were enough. $, toxic family $, trigger warning $, emotional violence $, my truth. And the captions? Things like, "He laughed at my tears," and "It's not just the words, it's the intent." People in the comments were full-on foaming. "Cut them off, queen. You don't owe anyone grace. Protect your peace even if it's from his brother." His brother. Me? Now I'd laugh if it weren't for the fact that Rachel has like 70,000 followers. Apparently, she's big in the wellness world. Her brand is part yoga, part witchcraft, part trauma as personality. She's got an Etsy store and everything. Crystals, mood sprays, shirts that say Empath AF. That night, I get a message from my boss's wife. Hey, Darren, any idea why someone named Rachel Sage Wellness is tagging your business account in posts about emotional toxicity? I nearly choked on my leftover burrito. I scroll, and there it is. Her latest story, a video of her in her backyard garden whispering to the camera. When I married into this family, I expected awkward Thanksgivings. Not public shaming for acknowledging my pain. It's the disrespect for boundaries that hurts the most. The kicker? She tagged my business's Instagram. My actual business? The one I've been building for 6 years. So now I've got wellness warriors DMing my company page, asking why we enable abuse. One of them even left a 1-star review, writing, "Owner doesn't believe in healing." What does that even mean? At this point, I'm pacing around my apartment like a sitcom dad about to throw a lawn chair into the pool. My sister Emily calls, clearly already 3 glasses in, and says, "Okay, Rachel's gone full Lifetime movie. She just posted a meme that says, 'Blood means nothing if your aura is toxic.'" Then she laughs so hard she snorts. I wish I could laugh too, but I'm too busy drafting a cease and desist in my head. The next morning, Mitch finally texts, not to apologize, not to say, "Hey man, she went too far." Nope. He texts, "Maybe you should say, sorry, she's really hurt." I stared at that message like it owed me money. So let me get this straight. I mentioned his ex-wife's name during a nostalgic chuckle about a dog costume, and now I'm being treated like the Zodiac Killer? That's when it hit me. This wasn't about the name. Rachel wanted something to be mad about, something to frame, something to brand, and now I'm part of her victimhood portfolio. Well, guess what? If she wants to use my life as content, she picked the wrong brother. Game on, Rachel. If Rachel wanted a public breakdown, she should have been careful about the cracks in her own house. Because while she's been out here building her victim empire, selling tea blends with names like Boundaries Brew, and tagging my business in TikToks about spiritual betrayal, I've been doing a little research. And let me be clear, I'm not a petty man by nature, but I am thorough and deeply, deeply tired. See, what Rachel forgot in her campaign to cleanse her emotional landscape is that people talk, especially people who knew you before you rebranded as a moon priestess who cries on command. It started with an Instagram DM from a guy named Jason. I didn't recognize him at first, but his message hit me like a slap. Hey, if that's Rachel Sage from Tempe, I'd keep your distance. She wrecked my friend's life. Turns out Rachel's previous chapter was a bit more scorched earth than she makes it sound. According to Jason, and yeah, I confirmed it, she was married before Mitch. Not just married, but engaged twice before that. One guy ended up in therapy, the other filed a restraining order. That's not gossip, that's court record. Her first ex-fiance, Daniel, runs a bike shop upstate. I drove out there, bought a $12 bottle cage I didn't need, and asked him flat out. Dude looked like I'd summoned the ghost of Christmas past. Said Rachel had this pattern. She'd show up, love bomb, isolate, then melt down when things weren't perfect. Told me she made me block my sister because she didn't like her energy. I couldn't even order Thai food without it becoming a fight about boundaries. He didn't want to get involved. He was clearly still spooked. But he handed me a manila envelope before I left. Inside, printouts, emails, texts. One of them had her accusing him of betraying her healing because he forgot her moon cycle chart. I wish I was kidding. I didn't even know what to do with it all at first. It felt messy, ugly, personal, in a way I didn't want to touch. But then I remembered she tagged my company and called me emotionally violent over a dog costume memory. Nah, that bridge is ash. So I made my own TikTok. Not a slideshow, no sad piano, no performative whispering. Just me, a camera, and the receipts. Hi, I'm Darren. I've been publicly accused of being toxic and unsafe by someone who forgot their own digital footprint. Here's what healing really looks like. Then I dropped screenshots. Nothing slanderous, nothing fake, just facts. Her old posts from a now-deleted blog, her Etsy reviews, and that one email where she called her former therapist a jealous energy parasite. That one was gold. I didn't even say her full name. Didn't need to. The comments lit up like Vegas. Within hours, I was getting DMS from strangers thanking me. She tried this with my cousin. She blocked me for asking if she was okay. She called my dog energy toxic. One woman wrote, "I went to her retreat in Sedona. She made us scream into a tree and then charged $40 for detox juice. That was just cucumber water." And just like that, the tide started turning. The final straw? Rachel's podcast episode titled, "When the Narcissist is in the Mirror." She dropped it without naming me, but it was full of vague attacks calling me an enemy to spiritual growth and a lesson in flesh. I responded with one post, a short clip of her old YouTube channel before the rebrand, where she talks about how she doesn't believe in therapy because emotions are vibrations, not problems. Caption: would you trust this woman with your aura? Mic dropped. Update 1. Y'all were not kidding in the comments when you said this was turning into a full-blown soap opera. I honestly thought the TikTok would be the peak, but apparently it was just the pre-show. So buckle up, because Mommy Dearest finally entered the chat. And not in the way I expected. It started with a call at 6:42 a.m. I was half asleep, dreaming about punching a yoga instructor in a field of lavender, when my phone started buzzing. I groaned, rolled over, saw Mom on the screen, and almost didn't answer. But curiosity? That bitch always wins. I pick up and immediately hear her sobbing. Not loud, dramatic wailing. No, it's that guilt-laced, snot-bubbling kind of crying that makes you feel like a war criminal even when you haven't done anything. I sit up, already bracing for some emotional ambush. She goes, "Darren, why did you do this? Why are you hurting the family like this?" And I swear, it took everything in me not to throw the phone across the room. I asked her calmly, "What exactly did I do, Mom? I didn't call anyone names. I didn't make a single accusation. I just showed the truth." She sniffled, and there was a long pause. Then she said the most mom thing ever. "You're not wrong, but couldn't you have just let it go? Let it go. Let it go." You know what I let go of? My evenings, fixing their Wi-Fi. My weekends, helping her organize garage sales. The hundreds of quiet moments where I swallowed hurt so my brother could keep playing the golden boy and Rachel could call me unsafe without anyone blinking. I told her as much. Told her I was tired of being the emotional sponge of the family, of cleaning up their messes, absorbing their shame, and being treated like a malfunctioning extension cord when I dared to unplug. Then she went quiet, like eerily quiet. And finally, she said something that almost knocked me off the bed. "Darren, what Rachel's doing scares me." Dead silence. Then, she told me if I didn't stop talking to you, she'd limit Mitch's access to us, that we were enabling toxicity, that she'd go no contact to protect their peace. That was it. That was the moment I knew. My mom was done drinking the sage-scented Kool-Aid. "I just wanted to keep the peace," she whispered. "But peace built on pretending isn't peace. It's hostage negotiation." She said she didn't know what to do, but she was done playing along, that she loved me, that she was sorry. And yeah, I cried, not gonna lie. Hung up the phone and just sat there like a stunned idiot, holding my coffee and wondering what the hell happens next. Because now, Rachel's not just my enemy, she's got a real problem. I hadn't spoken to Laura in over 5 years. Not since the divorce, not since Mitch accidentally left his Apple Watch on the kitchen table, and she saw a full week's worth of flirty texts from someone listed as spin class not important. So when I got a Facebook message from her at 1:13 a.m., "Hey, saw your video. We should talk," I nearly dropped my phone in the sink. I waited a full hour before responding. I needed to be sure she wasn't reaching out to tell me to stop dragging her name into drama. But when I finally messaged back, all she sent was a phone number, and trust me, I've been waiting years for someone to blow up her perfect little reality. So I called. Lara sounded tired, not like exhausted from life tired, more like the calm, patient burn of someone who's been sitting on a bomb for years and is finally handing you the detonator. "You didn't do anything wrong," she said first. "In fact, you might have done me a favor." She told me everything. Turns out Rachel wasn't just a yoga instructor. When Mitch met her, she was already on wellness marriage number 2, and according to Laura, she had a pattern. Attach herself to people with decent reputations, tear down everything around them, rebuild the narrative so she's the phoenix rising from someone else's ashes. "She was sniffing around Mitch before we even split," Laura said. "Started following me on Instagram, commenting on my posts, messaging mutuals. At first I thought it was some weird fitness networking thing. But then after the divorce, boom, she's suddenly in love with the guy who couldn't boil pasta." I asked her why she never said anything. She laughed. "Because Mitch is charming and Rachel is terrifying. She doesn't scream. She makes you feel like screaming would be unhealed energy, and no one wants to be the bitter ex." Then she sent me something I wasn't expecting, a voice memo. From Rachel, from back then. It was only 14 seconds long, but it hit like a train. You could hear Rachel say, "Laura's pain is her karma. I'm just the mirror. Mitch deserves joy, and if that threatens her identity, that's not my fault." What the hell? Laura had saved it. I kept it because I knew one day she'd pull this. I just didn't think you'd be the one she targeted. And here's the kicker. Laura wasn't just coming out of the woodwork. She wanted in. If she wants to weaponize healing, let's give her a lesson in real exposure. I've got stories. I've got texts. I've got the receipts. So now, the woman Rachel tried to erase is standing beside me, and she's ready to talk. Let's see how Rachel handles being haunted by a ghost she thought she buried. It took less than a week. 1 week of Rachel spiraling, posting vague spiritual threats, ranting about energy vampires trying to steal her light, and resharing old yoga class testimonials like they were legal evidence. Meanwhile, Lara and I were quietly organizing every screenshot, every voice memo, every little breadcrumb Rachel left behind in her glittery trail of healing. But we didn't even have to drop the bomb, because Mitch cracked. It happened on a Thursday. I was at the laundromat, watching my socks spin in purgatory, when I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then my phone buzzed again. Same number. Then a text. "We need to talk. I need to explain. Please, Mitch." I don't know why I answered the third time. Morbid curiosity, probably. That, or I finally wanted to hear what my brother sounded like without Rachel in the background puppeteering his personality. He sounded like hell. His voice was shaking, like literal voice cracking, dry mouth shaking. "I saw the messages between you and Lara," he said. "I know she sent you stuff, and I know I've been an ass. But Darren, you don't know what it's like being around her." I kept quiet, just listened. "She doesn't yell," he said. "She leaks, like slowly drains your sanity until you think apologizing for her mistakes is just normal, like breathing." Then he dropped the hammer. "She had something on me." I froze. Back when he was still married to Lara, about a year before the divorce, Mitch got into some shady financial mess. He borrowed a chunk of money from a former client to invest in a passion project. Some dumb luxury dog collar startup, don't ask. The deal went sideways, the money vanished, and instead of owning up to it, Mitch forged a document. Nothing massive, just enough to avoid being sued. The kind of crime that wouldn't land you in prison but could cost you your career and your reputation. Rachel found out. Not through snooping, he told her. Tried to impress her with how cleverly he handled it. But she didn't let it go. No, she held onto that info like a loaded gun tucked in a crystal-studded holster. "She told me if I ever left her," Mitch said, "she'd purify the truth." That's how she said it. Like it was righteous. He paused, then whispered, "She even drafted a Medium post." I swear I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so damn her. So Mitch did what he always does. Folded. Married her fast. Cut ties with anyone who questioned it. Let her rewrite the story of their love as some divine cleansing after his toxic marriage. Because the alternative was having his dirty laundry aired by a woman who knows exactly how to package pain like a wellness brand. "I didn't protect you," he said. "Or Lara. I let her make you the villain because it was easier than being honest." I didn't say anything right away. Just sat there, listening to the hum of dryers, thinking about how long I've been carrying the weight of his silence. Then he said something I didn't expect. "I'll back you up. If it comes to it, I'll tell the truth." My stomach twisted, because suddenly this wasn't just personal. It was dangerous. For him, for her, for all the fake narratives she'd built. The truth was coming, and she knew it. You ever seen someone snap in slow motion? Like a wine glass falling off a counter, except the person throws it, smiling, while swearing it's gravity's fault? That was Rachel. Saturday afternoon, our niece's birthday. A backyard full of bounce houses, juice boxes, and a very unhinged wellness queen in full meltdown mode. See, up until then, I thought I'd seen Rachel at her worst. The cryptic Instagram posts, the teary TikToks, the faux spiritual monologues where she described my sarcasm as violence against her nervous system. But this was some next-level lifetime villain origin story shit. The party was for Paisley, Mitch's daughter from his first marriage. Lara was there, invited by Emily, my sister, who was fully Team Petty by now. Mitch showed up solo, said Rachel had a migraine. Everyone gave each other that look, the silent, eye-bulging don't say her name pact. Too late. We were in the middle of singing Happy Birthday when someone yelled, "Oh my God!" And there she was, Rachel, standing in the middle of the backyard in flowing white linen like she'd just wandered out of a cult commune, holding a crystal wand and a phone on livestream. Her voice was calm at first, too calm, like the kind of calm you hear in documentaries right before someone sets fire to a farmhouse. She said, "This is what betrayal looks like, friends. They erase your story, then throw a party without you." We all froze. Kids stopped mid-sugar high. Parents did that awkward, instinctive step forward like, should I tackle her or offer her a Capri Sun? Then she turned the phone toward me. "This is Darren," she said. "The brother-in-law who weaponized trauma, who conspired with his brother's ex-wife to publicly shame me." And then, she pulled out a stack of printed screenshots, laminated screenshots, and started reading them like it was a deposition. March 18th, Darren mocks my podcast. April 2nd, he calls my spiritual practice Pinterest nonsense. May 6th, he posts a video suggesting I fake tears for clout. Mitch stepped forward, trying to stop her. She hissed at him, like literally hissed. I watched a 43-year-old man recoil like he'd just gotten sprayed by a feral possum. Kids were crying now, parents pulling them toward the house. Lara had her phone out, calmly recording everything. Then Rachel said, "You want truth? Here's truth. Mitch is a fraud. His family is toxic, and I've been psychically assaulted." And that's when my mom finally snapped. "You are not the victim here," she said, stepping between Rachel and Paisley like a lioness. "You came into our family and tried to make us characters in your sad little story, but guess what? Nobody's playing along anymore." The crowd gasped like it was a soap opera. "Hell," I gasped. Rachel stared at her, mouth open. For a second, I swear I saw something human flicker in her eyes. Hurt, maybe. Fear. Then it was gone. She turned, stormed out, and tripped over a sprinkler. Glorious. Later that night, Mitch came over. He had two things: a resignation letter from Rachel's podcast business — he handled her back-end tech, irony — and an apology, a real one. "I let her burn down everything around me," he said, "but I'm done handing her the matches." Rachel went quiet online after that, deleted her stories, took down her Etsy. The damage was done. People saw the footage. Her little cult of wellness cracked wide open. And me? I slept like a baby. I didn't want this war. I didn't start it, but I'll be damned if I let someone turn my family into a prop for their trauma circus. So yeah, next time someone says, "Don't bring up the ex at dinner," maybe listen. Or maybe make sure your brother's new wife isn't a deranged oracle with a burner phone and a vengeance complex. Either way, bring your own wine. Thanks for sticking with me.